Good morning, fire breathers.
Good morning.
I think we're all fire breathers in the tribe of the fire breathers with our decreeing as well as all of our various practices of pranayama. And I'm very happy to share with you this morning a couple of different aspects of pranayama which some of you may have never heard of before, or at least maybe haven't developed within yourself. So I'm here to maybe demonstrate some practical aspects of some lesser known aspects of pranayama that, and also try to convince you to maybe try them if you haven't already. So always when I like to begin these type of talks, I like to mention some of the benefits just to try to entice you to try them. And so in general, pranayama for me I've noticed three major benefits in my life. One of them is the health benefit. I'll tell you a short story about something that happened to me around 15 to 10 years ago. Excuse me. I was having some health problems due to the fact that I was working too much, kind of putting a lot of stress on my body, and I wasn't sleeping very well. Sometimes I'd just be awake all night long, and I was really being depleted of energy and also falling prey to flu viruses and colds and stuff like that a lot. And it came to a point where I just started, I went to medical doctors, I tried various things, and none of that really worked. And so I reasoned with myself that this lack of sleep and this enervated state probably was somewhat related to a lack of prana. I noticed that in the winter months of the year, I definitely fell prey to this a lot more, and I watched that other people around me also tended to have more flus and colds and stuff like that. And so I thought, well, how can I get more prana in my being to make up for what I lack because of the season as well as due to lack of sleep? And you know, at the time, for some reason, it didn't occur to me because I knew about Jwal Kul's breathing exercises. I pursued something else, which I found out on the internet. It was just some suggestions and hints, and I worked at it, and I still use it on and off. And I'd like to show you a benefit here in a minute of a different type of fire breathing. But overall, I'd like to just say that a major benefit I've found in my life from the pranayama is just robust health, and I would say somewhat of a youthful appearance. More fire in my cells. I never run out of energy. People that work with me know that I work way too many hours each day, yet I'm not tired at the end of the day, and it's because I don't just do a little bit of pranayama in the morning. I've integrated it into my life. I do it here and there all throughout the day. And not only that, after I began to do this fire breathing that I'm going to tell you about 10 years ago, I took note of the fact that I didn't get a single flu or cold virus or anything like that for 2 solid years after that, which was just a complete change. You know, at the time, it was very noticeable, as well as just having more energy and so forth. The second benefit, besides health, is that I've noticed a great increase in spiritual sensitivity when I regularly do the fire breathing. And I attribute that to the fact that just having more of this etheric fire in both my physical body but all my 4 lower bodies creates a kind of a medium which helps to integrate the 4 lower bodies with the higher bodies, and it creates a medium through which vibrations, which are, you might say, the feelings and the sensings of the higher bodies, can travel through. We've all been noticed before when we're in very high dictations or been decreeing a lot, and we just have a lot more light in our auras. We tend to be a little bit more clairvoyant. Well, I know for a fact from a lot of experimentation that just pranayama produces the same benefit, and that I definitely am more likely to hear the promptings of my higher self as well as my spiritual coaches when I've been keeping myself full with this and just brimming with this etheric fire in my aura. So along with spiritual sensitivity, I've noticed a great increase in the ability to convey light as like a lightning rod. So this pranic fire, if you have a superabundance of it in you, it sort of acts like a superconductor. So if God is attempting to work through you to anchor light through your decrees, or like say you're on a pilgrimage, we experience this very frequently. We just walk the streets of a location, and we know that, and we feel that the masters are just anchoring light through us. And I've noticed a great deal of improvement in my ability to be a conveyor like that, because the fact is that when you're brimming with this etheric fire, it is a medium through which the greater pure spiritual fire can flow through. And especially if you do some of these exercises that I'm going to talk about, it opens up your meridians, which I believe in many people, if you don't exercise enough and if you haven't actually done this kind of work, are somewhat atrophied and sometimes blocked. And so as you exercise these meridians and the conscious movement of energy within your body temple, in your etheric being, your astral, your mental, what it does is it seems to strengthen and improve the carrying capacity of these meridians. I've experienced it very, very definitely. So these are three main benefits and enticements to maybe get your attention. So with that, I'd like to talk about the first real type of pranayama that I did very regularly. And it basically is based on the idea that, you know, when we do the regular fire breathing, we're absorbing that prana along with the air we breathe in our lungs. And our lungs and throat have a great deal, a better ability to, you might say, absorb the prana that we're breathing. And it's a region of our body that is very receptive. I would say that it has a great density of a certain type of elementary kind of chakras, kind of like, that can take in this energy and then supply it into the energy matrix of our body. But there's some other places on your body that have this too, okay? Like your hands, the palms of your hands and the bottoms of your feet also have a great density of these tiny little things that are like chakras, but they're not. I'm not talking about the major crystal ray chakras. I'm talking about these little other types of chakras. And once you become more aware of it and you're working with it, you can learn to entrain your physical breath with the action of feeling the sensation of pulling prana from around in the atmosphere through the palms of the hands and through the bottoms of your feet and through the meridians of your limbs, and then into the storage centers in your body, of which there's three, where this pranic energy is stored. There's one down here sort of right below, it feels to me like it's kind of below the solar plexus a little bit, and it's back inside of you. There's another one back behind the heart, and there's one in the middle of your head. And they store slightly different frequencies and types of prana. You don't have to really necessarily worry about that. I've never studied this part of this whole thing in depth. I haven't really read a lot of books about this. There are people who have, I'm sure in Qigong, they've categorized all this stuff far beyond what I know about. But what I do know is how to do it and how to use it, because I've done it for years and years, and I've learned more on my own. And so what we're talking about is learning to entrain the regular breath to the sensation of a sort of a kind of little fiery feeling you get on the palms of your hands and the bottom of your feet, and pulling that in. And what I've found is it's far more useful to actually work on the sensation and the feeling of this, and to than the visualization. I can only tell you that visualization helps a little bit, but the feeling is far, far more important. That's just something I can tell you. So, you know, there's a variety of ways to start with this. I would start with just one limb, either one leg or one arm or something like that, and just breathe slowly. And in this type, I don't personally hold my breath or anything like that. I actually just breathe deeply and slowly, but just in and out, in and out. And on the in-breath, you definitely feel it sweeping in, and you can actually at first stimulate the feeling a little bit by maybe just rubbing your your fingers lightly across your arm or something like that, if that helps you understand it. And when you're actually doing this and you're really got it down and you don't touch yourself or anything and you're doing it, you feel this tickling in your bones. And in years, it's funny because years later, after I had been doing this, I found a whole reference to this in a pranayama teaching by an Indian yogi, and it was a whole method called breathing through the bones, and it made total sense to me. And he talked a lot about this tickling sensation you get in there, and so that's something I'd urge you to just take note of in this case, because you'll know if you're being successful if you can kind of feel this tickling. It feels very deep. Now it's actually happening at the level of your etheric body. It's in the meridians and so forth, but there tends to be something of a sensational coordination, you might say, between your bones and your etheric meridians, I guess. That's all I can tell you. Another thing to take note of is as you do this, and you should do it only just for short periods at first, maybe 5 or 10 minutes once or twice a day at first, because you don't want to overtax these. You can actually, at first, if your meridians are not open, maybe if they're blocked and if they're not really well developed, you can actually kind of overtax it, and in any event, you're likely to feel some interesting sensations, which are the result of your meridians kind of rebuilding themselves and building themselves in a stronger ability to convey light. And at times, you're going to encounter blocks in certain areas, and I encountered them like at certain joints, like my knees and elbows and stuff, and it creates this odd sensation. It feels like liquid is bubbling through a tube, and the bloop, 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 bloop happens, and it's a tickly kind of a feeling. And I read about this. This fellow talked about it and mentioned that, you know, you might experience this, and I think that it is a sensation of those meridians being gently unblocked, I would say. And when you feel that, I would stop doing it if you feel it. Okay? And then what I've noticed also is sometimes you'll feel that happen for maybe a half hour after you've even stopped doing this breathing, which is very interesting. So I took note of this. All these things happened to me, and it happened for about a month that I kept feeling these gradual changes in my meridians. And then after about a month or so, I didn't feel that anymore, yet I felt as though I was greatly enhanced in my ability to pull this energy into my being. So after you get the basic idea down, you can work maybe on 2 arms at once. And I found it to be kind of a mental challenge at first, because it's kind of hard to think of 2 things simultaneously. So once again, you want to work on the feeling. And then eventually you can work on both arms and both legs at the same time. And that's how it's described in this Indian technique, is to breathe in and out both through the legs and the arms. And I would urge you to just work on one limb at a time at first. It's just, you're more likely to succeed at that. And so what do you do on the exhalation, you might ask? Because when you're breathing in, obviously you're bringing it in. Well, that circuit is the source of a number of things you could do. Basically, it's good to actually be conscious of both the inhalation as well as the exhalation. You can actually just inhale prana and then exhale prana, or you could inhale prana, the shiny stuff, and then in the split second between the inhalation ending and the exhalation, focus your mind perhaps upon a burden that you have within yourself, like maybe you feel lethargy in your lymph system, or something is kind of getting you down, and imagine and feel yourself exhaling this darkness, or this dark matter that is maybe burdening you. So that's another thing you can do. Either inhale and exhale the light, or else inhale light, exhale the darkness that you'd like to be free of. So there's a number of different also ways you can do this. You can bring it up through your legs and feel it come up, clear up to the top of your head, and then come back down into this storage facility in your belly. I'd say experiment. I've experimented with lots of things, and essentially once you've gotten into doing this and you learn that you can actually move prana around both inside yourself through your meridians and so forth, and within your body, it's very interesting because you actually begin to learn to and gain the ability to manipulate the prana outside your body. And I'm going to leave it at that because that's another very interesting part of this. You become friends with this light substance, and you can do things outside too. But first, learn about your insides and open up these pathways and so forth, and gain the great robust benefits of this prana. So that was the first part of this that I'd like to talk about, is this breathing through the bones. And it's a real visceral, it's something that really affects your physical health a lot, I would say. The other part of pranayama that I'd like to talk about today is a more subtle one, and it has more to do with breathing in and imbibing the beautiful quintessences of God, the virtues. And it's another whole aspect of this that I've worked a lot on for a number of years. And you might, I guess you could say, well, just do it, you know. And I know that our higher selves actually help us. You can actually think, okay, I'm going to breathe in love. And you think for just a moment and maybe ask God to just supply some of this pink prana, and He will, and God will, your I Am Presence will. And I hope that people do this from time to time. We're doing our virtues class, and I think that this is an excellent example of a time when you can actually use this to imbibe qualities of God that maybe you lack or that you'd like to build up, or at times, sometimes we find we have negative momentums. And if you find that you have like a pessimistic outlook, maybe you can look at the cosmic clock and figure out, well, what's the God quality of that? And then focus on that for a while and develop it within yourself. And you can do it through pure meditation, but I found that it's very, very effective to do it through a type of specific quality prana breathing, which is to focus on that quality that you'd like to imbibe. And I think we've all done this, but what I'm going to talk about is maybe some finer points, I guess. And what I found is that when this is really, really effective, I've taken the time to meditate on that quality, I guess. And when you meditate on a quality of God that you'd like to imbibe, almost like you drink a drink, you know, what happens is, at first I used to think of it as maybe constructing a soda straw, you might say, to that part of God. And my mental mind kind of got in the way a little bit. And it works, and I could create a pathway to the sun, to Helios and Vesta, or to some quality of God in my own causal body, or God at large. And it worked. Yet, as I observe now, it seems as though it's far more effective to focus on and meditate very gently but persistently with concentration upon what you desire to imbibe until I feel it and I see it. I actually see colors in my mind's eye that pertain to that, and it has an aroma and it has a feel, a texture, and all that stuff. And then through the power of concentration and holding the faculty of the attention upon that, I think what happens is you transport a part of yourself there, which is already there, and you can begin to breathe that in as an aroma, I guess. And what I like to just talk about this morning and just urge you to do is just perhaps work on this last part, this ability to concentrate upon the quality that you'd like to imbibe until you feel and see it, you might say, and then breathe it in rhythmically. And I've done this a lot, and I've found that the effectiveness of this meditation and this drinking in these qualities of God can widely vary, for me at least. And if my attention is not very focused that day, or if I'm struggling with being very, very one-pointed about this, I might be only getting like a 20% stream, you know, you might say, or something like that. It feels like some fraction of what I could be doing, and it takes more repetitions, more time until I get focused, okay? Whereas if I'm very, very focused upon that thing, it seems to just create this superconducting conduit, and I am there, and I'm really breathing in a great deal of it, and you almost get these rushes in your being because of the concentrated essence that you're bringing in. And I would urge you to just seek that, I guess. Seek that experience whereby each breath you take in, you feel and you see that pink. It's like, in the aroma, you smell it and everything. And don't despair if this doesn't happen at first. It certainly didn't for me. It's something that you develop, I guess, through just trying and repetitions. And as you meet up and you work on this on a daily basis, I believe that angels will come and help you, or your spiritual mentors will come, and they will help you with just little hints that are good for you to work on in this respect, and they'll make suggestions for things, because sometimes we don't always know which quality is the next best thing to do. You can just pick something at random, and that's fine. I have been at times not sure, and so I've said, well, God, I'm going to accept, I'd like to request that you just dial up some set of frequencies that are ideal for me right now to get through my day and get through my particular challenges right now. And sure enough, it works perfectly. And yet I didn't think of that. It came to me in a meditation to do that. And I've done this with the sun, with Helios and Vesta. I've done this with specific masters, but also I think there is this part of God, which is the divine qualities, which you can almost like visit like a cosmic soda fountain, and you can dial up frequencies, you might say. And in fact, I heard one ascended master some time ago. I forget who it was. It was one of the lady masters who said they do this too. They dial up. They have certain frequencies that they like to imbibe themselves. And I thought, wow, that's just like this thing that I was working on. And I was really, really tickled that they do that too. But of course, ascended masters continue to develop those parts of themselves, and continue to grow cosmically. One other thing I'd like to add here that has been my experience is, once again, with any kind of breathing, there's the in-breath and there's the out-breath. So what I've experienced as far as that circuit is you can choose to inhale from God and then perhaps to sacrifice with the exhalation the opposite quality, and just give back to God perhaps the energy that you've misqualified, which is the opposite of that, or any kind of burdens you'd like to just sacrifice back to God to be requalified. And that's an excellent thing to do. Later on, you may be drawn to do something more like this, though. You can inhale this quality of God and perhaps hold it a little bit and allow your own God presence to impart a little bit more of your, maybe your stamp of your God presence upon it, your gift, you might say. And then when you're about to exhale, change your focus to be upon perhaps somebody you'd like to bless, or maybe a whole group of people, maybe everybody in the earth. If you can do that in your meditation, if you can connect your heart to be one with all the other people in the earth, you can exhale and let this God essence flow through your heart and bless them. So that's another thing you can do with this inhale-exhale cycle. So there's many variations on this theme. And I'd like to just urge you to try these things. And if you ever anybody wants to call me or talk to me about this, I'd love to talk about it and just further develop it within our community. So very happy to offer this as some things that are fun to do, and they're very, very beneficial on the path. So thank you for listening, and let's have a great day. I love this service today. This is one of the best services I feel like we've had for a while. It was wonderful. So thanks you. Bless you. Good morning.